First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. So today's video, I wanted to go into how Alexander the Great was prophesied in the Holy Bible. Okay, and I wanted to go into the prophecy specifically and go into how, historical accounts by Flavius Josephus about how Alexander knew that he was prophesied about and even gave homage to the God of the Bible, the God of the Hebrews. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to go and I'm going to first start with the account and then I'm going to go into the prophecy. So this is Flavius Josephus, and I just searched up Josephus Alexander the Great, and this is what popped up. But when you go down, this is from Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 11, verse 317, and essentially the context of what was happening was you had Alexander. He went out to talk to the high priest of the nation of Israel, telling him, bring me tributaries, auxiliaries. And the high priest told him, we only give to Darius. And as long as Darius is in the land living, we're going to give to him. And this infuriated Alexander. And essentially he said, hey, after I'm done, besieging Tyre, I'm going to go over there and deal, with those Israelites, those Jews. So essentially, once Alexander was done conquering, he said right here, now Alexander, we had taken Gaza, made haste to go to Jerusalem. And Jadis the high priest, when he'd heard that, was in an agony and under terror, as not knowing how he should meet the Macedonians. Since the king was displeased at his foregoing disobedience, he therefore ordained that the people should make supplications and should join with him in offering sacrifice to God, when he besought to protect that nation and to deliver them from the perils that were coming upon them. Whereupon God warned him in a dream, which came upon him after he had offered sacrifice, that he should take courage and adorn the city and open the gates, that the rest should appear in white garments, but that he and the priest should meet the king in the habits proper to their order, without the dread of any ill consequences, which the providence of God would prevent. So the Most High Yahweh told this priest, high priest, don't worry about it. Okay, have your people, wear their garments, that white linen, and go up like, there's no problem. And I'm going to jump down to when Alexander came, verse 330. It says, and when the Phoenicians and the Cimmerians that followed him thought they should have liberty to plunder the city and torment the high priest to death, which the king's displeasure fairly promised them, the very reverse of it happened. For Alexander, when he saw the multitude at a distance in white garments, while the priest stood clothed with fine linen, and the high priest in purple and scarlet clothing, with his mitre on his head, having the golden plate whereon the name of God was engraved, he approached by himself and adored that name, and first saluted the high priest. The Jews also did altogether with one voice salute Alexander, and encompass him about, whereupon the kings of Syria and the rest were surprised at what Alexander had done, and supposed him disordered in his mind. Right, because all his allies were looking at him like, hold up, you're Alexander the Great, king of Macedon, king of all of, Persia, and here it is, you're bowing down to some Jews? Like, you're out of your mind. It says, however, Parmenion, which was Alexander's, top general, it says, alone went up to him and asked him how it came to pass that when all others adored him, he should adore the high priest of the Jews. To whom he replied, I did not adore him, but that God who was honored him with his high priesthood. Right, so he wasn't adoring these people. He was adoring the Most High of these people. And it says, for I saw this very person in a dream in this very habit, when I was at Dion in Macedonia, who, when I was considering with myself how I might obtain the dominion of Asia, exhorted me to make no delay, but boldly to pass over the sea thither, for that he would conduct my army, and would give me the dominion over the Persians. Whence it is that, having seen no other in that habit, and now seeing this person in it, and remembering that vision and the exhortation when I had in that dream, I believe that I may bring this army under the divine conduct, and shall therewith conquer Darius and destroy the power of the Persians, and that all things will succeed according to what is in mine own mind. Okay, so the reason Alexander bowed down is because he had a vision, and he saw the same priest with the same linen and the purple, and he said that he's never seen nobody, with that type of attire. So when he saw these priests, just how he saw in the dream, he remembered that voice being the Most High Yahweh telling him, "Hey, go and conquer, right? Don't be scared because I'm gonna give you dominion. I'm gonna give you power. I'm gonna be with you, to give you the strength to conquer any nation that comes in front of you." And that boosted him up, exhorted him, and he was in that mentality of, "Hey, nobody can stop me." And you can see how that paid off heavily. Okay, in 12 years he conquered all of the known world. So it says, and when he had said this to Parmenion, that had given the high priest his right hand, the priest ran along by him, and he came into the city. And when he went up into the temple, he offered sacrifice to God according to the high priest's direction, and magnificently treated both the high priest and the priests. And when the book of Daniel was showed him, wherein Daniel declared that one of the Greeks should destroy the empire of the Persians, he supposed that himself was the person intended. And as he was then glad, he dismissed the multitude for the present. Right? So the priest showed, Daniel or Alexander the prophecies of his conquering in the book of Daniel. And when he read that, he's like, that's gotta be me. That's gotta be me. It says, but the next day he called them to him and bid them ask what favors they pleased of him. Whereupon the high priest desired that they might enjoy the laws of their forefathers and might pay no tribute on the 7th year. He granted all they desired. And when they asked him that he would permit the Jews in Babylon and Media to enjoy their own laws also, he willingly promised to do hereafter what they desired. Okay, and that's all. Okay, our people desired was to follow the commandments of the Most High and not pay taxes on the 7th year, the year of rest. So this right here shows you that Alexander the Great knew about the scriptures, about the Most High. He paid homage to the Most High, and he understood that he was prophesied. So now let's go into the prophecies, that he read. So when you go into Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, both of them are pretty much talking about the same thing. So I'm going to start at verse 2 in Daniel chapter 7. And give me a second. Okay, Daniel chapter 7 and verse 2, it says, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Now when you go into the breakdown of what the 4 beasts are, in Daniel 7 and 17, the angel told Daniel, these great beasts which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. Okay, which those kings dealt with nations, rulerships. It says, the first was like a lion, and it had an eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Right, and this first beast kingdom was dealing with the Assyrian Babylonian Empire. Right, it first started with the Assyrians, the lion with eagle's wings. The Assyrians' main symbol was, I always forget what it was called. I think it was called the phoenix. No, lions, eagle, wings. Well, this was their symbol. The lion with eagle's wings. Okay, literally, exactly. Okay, similar. So I always forget what this is called, but it had a specific name. But this was symbolic for the Assyrians. And after the Assyrians, it translated over to the Babylonians, and that's where you get a man. It was given to a man's heart, stand upon the feet as a man, and I was talking about Nebuchadnezzar. Now after that kingdom, and the link to Daniel chapter 2 is the fact that they have outlined those kingdoms. Right, the first kingdom, Assyrian Babylonian Empire, and the second one, the Medo-Persian Empire. Let's break it down. It says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. right? And this was talking about the Medo-Persian Empire. And the reason it says it was like a bear and it raised up itself on one side was because the Persians had more fame nor notoriety. That kingdom is mainly known for the Persians, not the Medes. And that's the raising itself up on one side. And when it says it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, that's going into the three kingdoms that they conquered. Major areas, which is talking about Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. It says, and they said, thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh, right? Because they conquered greatly. Go into the history of Darius and his father. I think it's in the scriptures. It's called Artaxerxes, if I remember correctly. But it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Okay, and this was a prophecy about Alexander. Okay, a leopard, okay, which is talking about Alexander, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Right, and the 4 wings, the 4 heads, is symbolic for Alexander the Great's 4 generals. Okay, after Alexander the Great's death, his empire was divided among 4 of his key generals, Ptolemy, Cassander, Seleucus, and Antigonus. These generals established their own dynasties and ruled over different regions of the vast empire. Okay, and that's, the link. This is what it's talking about. Which when you go into Daniel chapter 2, it tells you it was the Greeks. So, this is what, the high priest showed Alexander. And to him, it made perfect sense. So, I just wanted to go over that real quick because this right here shows you that the Most High is the one that ruleth in the kingdom of men. Let's get that. In Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17, it says, this matters by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High, Yahweh, ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. Okay, and that's the point, is that the Most High is the one that put Alexander the Great in power. Same way he's put every single other nation in power. And the same way he puts them up is the same way he takes them down. And right now we're living in the society where the basis of men are ruling. Okay, the Edomites. Okay, these are so-called Jewish people, which really they're Edomites, not Israelites. Okay, they're not even Jews. They're fake, phony. But these people are the basis of men. And they're right now ruling this empire, ruling this earth in wickedness. But soon, the Most High is going to take all this down. And it's going to start, or it's going to end, with the utter destruction, nuclear destruction of America and Israel. So, I'll leave it there. Alexander the Great was prophesied in the Bible. Hopefully it was edifying. With down to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.